Hey guys, Editing Mason here. If you are listening to this around the time that it was posted, I'm sure all of you are aware of what has been going on in America recently. We lightly touched upon it during the episode, but we never really actually said anything. We have witnessed some terrible examples of escalated police violence in the past few weeks with George Floyd, and then the protests that preceded it, and then the riots that preceded that. I am not, and I mean Aubrey's not either, in a place, I guess, where we have really any right to speak to the experience of those who are being oppressed and those who are repeating history. But I guess really the main thing I wanted to say was my heart goes out to those affected and the family members of George and those who are being hurt and arrested in protest for him. I really encourage whoever's listening and whoever feels compelled to, if you do feel like you want to help or you are able to give that assistance, there are a lot of local and national bail funds that I'm sure still need to be paid. I could try to find a link for one of those to put in the episode description. But other than that, I guess I wish everyone the best. And I know, especially with the pandemic and everything going on right now too, this isn't the safest way to deal with this. But I mean, a message needs to be made. I feel that this is not something that people can continue to sit back and watch happen anymore, especially whenever something too much like this has happened too recently. But regardless, that's not why we're here. So I'll let you guys get to the episode. Take care. Be safe. Record button, and we're just gonna get comfortable.
Syphilis again. God damn it, I got syphilis again.
Yeah, well, maybe you can get syphilis later after this is over. I'm pretty sure the microphone picks up that.
And she's married to a Kazakhstani lady. Why am...
One of the two of you wasn't very into it? Anyway, get off
me.
that shit.
Okay.
So, what's up? What's going on? How's it going? It's been actually only like a week or so this time.
I've just been self-quarantining at home.
Haven't we all?
Apparently not. A lot of people in our city do not stay home. But to be fair, we never had any kind of stay-at-home order or anything like that, so it's not really their fault. It's the fault of our government.
Yeah.
You gotta love Arkansas.
Well, yeah. I mean, the world, it's pretty hell right now, and I believe it is important for us to talk about these topics and mention them because, I don't know, as much as I want to, keep this free of those sorts of stressors, especially for people that get a lot of stress from even, hearing about that, I think it is also important and responsible to at least acknowledge what's going on, and I appreciate any listener for bearing with. I understand that it is a rough topic for some people, but regardless, we have a very special guest with us today, sitting over here to our left, the very lovely Addison Griffin.
Thank you guys for having me.
And I totally didn't say your name wrong the first time,
no,
even though
fine.
I've known you
fine.
for years.
It's fine. Just,
Deep friend of the pod.
A deep pod lore resident.
I am a pod lover.
Yes. You actually, I really wanted to have you on as our first guest because you were, ever since we told you about this, you've been very, very gung-ho about, getting on and talking about shit. And you know what? I feel like that's exactly what we need at a time like this. So anyway, how's it going? We haven't really talked about yet for guest stuff if we wanted to start on them or start with our stuff first. I don't know. What do you think?
I do have a great personal story about something that happened to me this week that I would love to share.
No, please just jump right into it. Get in there.
So my roommate and I, we were in the car, and we're driving along, and there's a pigeon in the road up ahead.
Uh-huh.
I was going about 40. There was somebody right behind me, kind of right on my tail, so I couldn't slow down that much. But I did try to slow down because I didn't want to hit the bird. But I assumed, like most people assume, that the bird's gonna fly off because they see you. You know, they hear your car coming and they get scared and they go. Well, this bird, this pigeon, looked me in the eyes as I tried to slow down to forewarn him of my coming, and he did not move. And I literally drove straight over him. Like, my tire went crunch.
Oh, no. Oh.
And
That is
Caleb and
so
I
tragic.
just screamed. Like, and then I laughed, and then I screamed, and then I laughed because I didn't know if I was supposed to be upset or if I was supposed to laugh because it was like he wanted me to hit him.
Oh, and I can
Like
imagine,
he was playing
Caleb
the
is
grade
such a
school.
sweet human.
Well, it was
So
like
he'd just be like, I can imagine him just bawling his eyes out.
Oh,
over this poor
he was
pigeon.
dead silent for like
Oh, no.
half a minute, and then he started yelling as well
Oh.
because he was so. we just didn't understand, and then I said, well, maybe it's somebody that's been reincarnated. They realized I'm a stupid fucking pigeon.
It's like the world
This
is
is
so
literally
fucked
the
up that-
worst thing I could have been. Just run me over, and I feel like I assisted in suicide.
Well, it's like there's so much
Well-
shit happening in this world right now. The pigeons are fucking giving up.
The
You know
pigeons are
something's
like,
wrong
I
when
am
the pigeons
out.
are giving up.
Deuces. Flatten me with your car.
Oh,
I
shit.
honestly feel like nature has been the part that's been thriving recently since
Right.
we've been all stuck indoors. But I mean, who's to say? We don't know what that man's life was.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we are invading
man.
their space more now that quarantine's happening. You know what I mean? So maybe they're just, I don't know. They know things. They're aware of our human bullshit.
and that's why it was scary. I've never really run over something like that. I've definitely hit roadkill, things that are already dead, but a full live ass bird that I just flattened that saw me coming.
It was like commitment. Like, he committed.
Yeah, he looked me in the
Yeah,
eyes as
yeah.
I was driving towards him, and there was
an
nothing I could
intimate
do
experience.
because they were gonna hit me
Drunk
if I
truck
stopped.
driver.
It was just really something that was. It was a good solid 5 minutes that I was like, I can't stop thinking about the crunch.
The crunch,
no.
it's resounding in my
The
brain.
audible
It's
memory.
bouncing.
I was like, is this what a murderer feels like? Ugh.
Is it? That's speaking of something you said, Addie. Like every time I think to it, it's mind blowing. Like how we affect not only like the animals and everything around us, but the way that they like have grown to, I guess, adapt to us. Like specifically, I was thinking about this like last time I was over at your place. Like cats meowing, like all of like the very verbal noises that they make are specifically like noises, like a language that they have created to communicate with humans. Like they don't do that with each other. They
Yeah,
only do
yeah.
that with like other species.
And it usually means, let me the fuck go. Stop holding
Yeah.
me. Let me down.
Or it's like, please give me attention, like my freaking
Feed
roommate's
me.
cat. Yes, that's another thing. My roommates, when their cat, my roommates do not take care of their cat. I was informing them of this earlier,
It is a
and it's
tragedy.
just, it's upsetting. The poor boy needs attention. And so he'll come to my door and like put his paws underneath the door and just like claw at it, and they actually declawed him because he was doing damage to the apartment, and I'm just like, guys, this is not the way to fix the problem. Anyway, but in the mornings at 8 a.m., like when my roommates, I guess, like the cat knows this is about when they're about to get up for class, he'll like just angrily meow at their doors for like an entire hour until they get up. It's like he's the alarm clock, and I just hear this loud stomping. Like my roommates, in response to this like cry for help, are just like stomping towards this cat, like just scaring the shit out of him.
oh my god.
And I'm waking up, like I'm hearing these noises, and I'm like, bro, this is anyway.
See, I mean, Juno woke me up this morning like that because she'll cry when my boyfriend's gone, if he leaves the room, or if I leave her somewhere else in the house, she'll just cry, being like, well, why I want attention. And this morning I woke up to her just like on top of me, just meowing and just like patting me with her feet, like, wake up. And it was so cute. I like couldn't be mad.
They're not as solitary, as we'd like to think they are.
Oh, yeah,
we just
no.
compare them to dogs so often.
she gets along so well with Milo, the little dog.
Milo is like a cat in a dog's body, to be honest.
No,
with you.
yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So it's been a
I feel
perfect
like-
pairing because she's just as hyper and weird and goofy as he is.
I honestly think in raising Milo from a puppy, like at that point in time, he honestly had almost too much attention. Like I think like you were loving him so hard that he just developed this cat-like personality where he's like, okay, I love you too, but I need some time.
I just think he's always been like that. Like, I mean, he's always been picky about when he wants to love me, which isn't common for dogs, but. You know,
well, he's just calmer. He's a thoughtful boy. He's a thoughtful boy.
Yeah, he's certainly
a thoughty boy.
a good boy. I've lucked out with good, easy to train dogs and cats.
You know, that is a really interesting perspective too, because like you actually lived with Aubrey whenever she got Milo in the first place. God.
Oh yeah.
How long ago was that now?
Oh boy, 2 years ago? 2, 3? I think it was 2 years.
Honestly, had I
Coming on
known
3.
how much trouble he was going to be, and had I known how easy it would have been to raise a cat, I may have gotten a cat instead of him, but we weren't allowed cats in our first place, so
It's
I had
so
to...
weird that they had dogs, but not. I mean, maybe
Yeah,
it was
it
for.
was-
Oh,
food.
but I didn't tell them I had a dog while I lived there either.
Oh, I know. I know.
They kind of loved us. Our
I mean, yeah,
landlords there were
they
fantastic.
obviously knew. Our
Yeah.
apartment was literally, our yard was right in front of the leasing office. So,
Yeah.
like, they saw me with the dog all the time.
Well-
and the maintenance guys obviously heard him when they came because he would whine. It was just interesting because I was like, I didn't have the money to pay a dog fee at that point. But where I live now, they know that I have a dog.
Our landlord and landlady, I think, I don't know what her position was exactly, but she was the one always in the office. She was super sweet. But I actually met her, like, outside of the complex at Backspace, which is this great little, punk venue in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's one of my favorite places
Backspace
on
is
the
great.
planet. But yeah, and she was so drunk. And we just bonded over this moment of like, I don't know, we were talking about her boyfriend, and then she tried to set me up with her boyfriend's brother. And it was just this very strange night. And the next day, it was like, we are so connected now. Like, we are family. And she just, from that point forward, was like, I'm going to overlook your bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
she had plenty of opportunities to come down on us, and she was just great.
Oh, for sure.
You know, to them. Like I don't know. Like I feel like a human connection is not one that comes easily. So, I mean, I agree with that sentiment that it should not be a thing that is taken lightly. Like meeting somebody and being able to get along with them in a very like fast manner. That's I don't know. That's always like meant something.
Organic
to me.
connections. Need to
See,
be
I don't know. I
treasured.
mean, it's nice, but also you can't always trust it. Some people are
True.
super good at knowing how to schmooze people the right ways and rub your ego and such. So I'm also super cynical. So I'm always like, who can I trust? No one.
I was actually thinking earlier, it's one of my favorite stories to tell was when I I went to this random like punk party, that I saw on Facebook. And it was probably a bad idea. I didn't know anybody that was attending. I was just like, I'm bored. I'm gonna go to this sketchy ass party. So I go to this person's house, and it actually ended up being like a really legitimate place. And the girl that owned the house was actually the lead of my favorite punk band that I see at Backspace all the time. Is the Flems. A little plug there, and I absolutely Anyway, so I'm at this punk party, and I'm kind of looking to get laid that night. I was just like, I need to meet people. I need to make new friends. I need to, it's a party. So I find this guy who is dressed as a mermaid, like has his legs taped together and has this like he's just hopping around all night, and he's really, really cute. So he had been flirting with me all night, and I was like, okay, great, let's go back to my place. Nothing happens. And he's like, I just want to cuddle. Like, I just want to have a place to sleep tonight. And I wake up the next morning, and I'm like, and he leaves. He jets. I'm like, did I do something wrong? Like, is everything okay here? And there's, like, green dye all over my bed the next morning from this guy just spending the night at my house because he was, covered in, like, paint. And I'm just like, what the fuck did I do? And it turns out, like, I think he was homeless. And he just wanted to sleep in my bed that night. And he just wanted a, like, place to sleep. Because I looked it up on him on Instagram, and he was in a rough situation. But anyway, I don't know where we got into that story, but
Never let
that
a
was just
merman
wild. Yeah.
into your bed.
Well, you were talking about how you shouldn't just trust, like, organic connections sometimes, because, and I just, anyway, don't go looking for one-night stands at a punk party.
I mean, I feel like in our age of, like, how easy it is to connect with anyone anywhere with Tinder and Grindr and Tammy and
those
any
scare
of
the crap
these.
out of me, dude.
Yeah, and, like, with as much as I used to use Tinder a lot in the earlier years of college, and I went and met up with people that, like, now I look back on that and I'm like, oh my god, like, had those people not ended up being, you know, I had decently positive experiences throughout most of it, and just about everybody I met was nice, consensual, and, you know, somebody that ended up, you know, like, I still run into these people around town and they're, you know, good friends. Yeah, no, there's definitely some scenarios where I'm like, oh my god, I should have never gone to meet so-and-so, or let them drive me out to the woods, or, you know, whatever.
Right. Like, things you look back on, it's like, oh shit. Shit.
Things you don't really think about, and you're like, oh my god, I could have been murdered.
Yeah.
So,
What
The Optimist.
the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know, you tell me.
Should I tell you? Okay. So, yeah, here, I'll get into it. Let me go ahead and, I will disclose for you what I was telling Addison before this, before you got here. Last night, around, well, I guess the wee hours of the morning, around 2 a.m., I pulled out my notebook and just wrote, yo, what the fuck's up with ball pits on it? And then went to bed, and I guess that's what I'm talking about. Today I'm bringing in ball pits for you.
What the fuck is up with ball pits?
As a kid, I loved a good ball pit, and if you've ever been to the City Museum in St. Louis, Missouri, you know a good ball pit. They got a huge one, and they've got one that's got, like, huge, like, yoga balls in it. Ball pits are great and all, but as an adult, I now realize how fucking unsanitary and just straight up disgusting the ball pit of a Chuck E. Cheese is. Like, I would never let anyone's child near it because I don't want them to get HPV.
Right.
All right.
All of the sweat and just bodily fluid in those ball pits, like Chick-fil-A, McDonald's ball pits. Ooh.
It's
Also,
COVID
like,
waiting to happen.
Stuff gets, like, stuck up in there, and, like, who fucking knows? Like, how do you clean that shit out? Do they bring it?
Whose job is it to, there's gotta be a company just dedicated to cleaning ball pits.
Well,
I mean, they're
know what?
dying out now. Like, ball pits aren't fading, entertainment. But...
Well, I mean, it's a thing you don't really need anymore, because, you know, it was in most, like, family-friendly places, of my assumption, you know, to help keep the kid entertained or give them something to do after they're done eating like, before you're, like, ready to leave. But nowadays, you know, it's so much easier, like, you just have screens and iPads and stuff that you can give a kid to, like, distract
Isn't
them.
that utterly disappointing?
I mean, it is, but, you know, it is a product of the luxuries that we have in our time, sadly. But anyway, I have pulled up the wiki for the ball pit. I'm just gonna hop right into this. A ball pit, originally called ball crawl, and also known as ball pool or ball pond. Who the fuck calls it a ball pond? Is a padded box or pool filled with small, colorful, hollow plastic balls generally no larger than 3 inches, 7.6 centimeters for those of you in Europe, in diameter. Instead of balls, other spherical objects can be used, such as balloons. It is typically employed as a recreation and exercise for children. Ball pits are often found in nurseries, carnivals, amusement. Yeah. We've seen them around.
Oh, I just had an even crazier ball pit thought. Have either of you ever been to Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri?
Yes, I was gonna bring that up. Like the giant play
Anyone
area.
who's ever been on a cheap family vacation has been to Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. And in the kids section, I don't know if they still have it. It's been a long time. They had this 3 to 4 story building.
It was massive.
That was literally just a giant ball pit. Like, there were balls literally everywhere. Like, someone easily could have broken their neck at any moment.
Well, that wasn't the only part. Like, up on the scaffolding, up on, like, the 3rd and 4th floor, like, there were, like, tubes you could suck balls up into.
You could shoot people across the room.
Yeah, and there were targets and stuff.
And, and you would take off your shoes, too, so you'd be running around in, like, your nasty little child socks, touching all these balls on the floor, and just hucking them at other sweaty kids.
Well, it was just
who are then shooting them back at you, and it's just like a cesspool.
Yeah,
well, but also as a kid, you're like, this is the shit.
No, it was the shit, though. Well,
like, I would probably still, shoot a couple balls or two.
The main issue is that there's a big water contamination because it's right near their water stuff, too. And it actually, like, shares right outside of that building to one side.
Like, the balls are taking a dip in the water park for sure.
Oh, that
is what's
that,
happening.
and it's also, like, super humid with all that water being there when it's in the summer. So the ball pit room becomes just unbearably sticky.
And that's, like, right next to the ball pit. Like, it's right out the door, so...
There's also just, like, a whole section that's just fountains coming out of the ground, and kids will, like, just stick their face in it.
The balls that they use for that are foam. They're, like, slightly higher quality, and I assume meant to not hurt as much. They are a lot more dense, so, like, when they get shot, they probably do hurt more than the plastic balls, but I assume it's so they actually fly.
I think a plastic ball would hurt more, but because they use that foam material, it bounces off a little, like a soft BB.
Yeah, but that shit gets wet, though, because of, the water park aspect.
Then it gives a good smack. Not like a hurtful smack, but a good, like...
I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
They were conscious of the sound effects their balls would produce. I'm pretty sure. That's 100% what they were thinking about.
Well, that's the episode title. Anyway, I really need to click on this link because it says, and the now defunct Discovery Zone, and I've never heard of this place before, so...
What is Discovery Zone?
Alright, Discovery Zone, a chain of entertainment facilities featuring games and elaborate indoor mazes designed for young children, including roller slides, climbing play structures, and ball pits. Oh, okay.
Okay, where I grew up over, I used to live on the Kansas-Missouri border, and there was a place called Kaleidoscope, where it was a bunch of different rooms. One was like a little miniature grocery store, and you could be the cashier, or you could like check out and buy stuff, and it was complete with all kinds of the shelves were stocked with all kinds of fake foods, and like you could also be the grocer and like stock stuff. Another room was like a restaurant. Another one was, talking about, like, the physics of, and it was, like, racing with cars on the ups and downs. Like, all stuff that had a learning attribute to it. And the stuff with the restaurant and the grocery store, I guess it was supposed to be math. I don't know. As a kid, I was just like, oh, my God, I love pretending to do blue-collar labor.
Yeah,
yeah, that sounds really fun, honestly.
Yeah, no, as a kid, I idolized,
adult,
like, working as a cashier and working as a waitress. And now, as a 22-year-old woman, I realize those jobs really fucking suck. But as a kid, I thought that would be the shit.
No, it's so weird. No, like, kids, as a kid, like, we're so excited, like, at the idea of jobs and having something to do.
Yeah.
It's so strange that once you actually figure out what that's like, it's not nearly as fun. Also, I'm realizing I know what happened to Discovery Zone, their successor, Chuck E. Cheese. I think that they went bankrupt and then started up a new chain as Chuck E. Cheese. Can I just say I also love how on the wiki page for this business, the section, like, for what happened to it is just called Fate. What was Discovery Zone's fate?
It's very, very dramatic.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chuck E. Cheese, what's your guys' consensus on the conspiracy theory about their pizza?
That it's reused.
I
right?
fully believe that this could be possible because their
They just
pizza has
recycle
always
pizza.
been weird shaped.
Yeah.
And so people are saying they recycle it. Like they just add a little bit more cheese on top of these pieces and then they just bake them all together again. And it's like, damn.
I wonder,
that would
is,
make
is
sense
that
why they
even
all
plausible? Because, like, if you're rebaking, you know what I mean? Like, the science behind baking, I think you'd just fuck up your
I think
everything
the bread
if you
would
just
get
kept
pretty
Well, yeah,
hard.
but like you just get them a little bit warmer so that way it's,
okay, I see.
you know, you don't have to add that much.
So you're like killing the germs, but that's about it.
Yeah, because I remember watching that Shane Dawson video, and it's just like the slices, sometimes they don't line up. And I mean, you know, if you guys want to eat some Chuck E. Cheese pizza with me, I'm really down to try this out.
I mean, we can, I'll try anything once.
I think eating that pizza would kill me. You know, I'd do it.
Well, yeah. Well, did you guys, going back to, we were talking about, like, construction and, like, you said you idolized being a waitress. Did you guys have a moment in your life where your parents just crushed your dreams as a kid? Because when I was a kid, I wanted to, like, work in construction. I thought that was legit hella cool because you just use your hands all the time. And I remember, like, getting older, like, into junior high and high school, I was like, being an EMT would be absolutely amazing. Like, that just sounds like an adrenaline rush every single day. I remember I told my mom this, and she was like, so you essentially want to be like a garbage man. Like, you want to be, like, she grouped emergency medical workers with garbage men. And I was so disappointed, first of all, that my mother would make this grouping. And second of all, that she thought that was just a bad gig to have. I thought that was great. You know, there's nothing wrong with being an EMT. Anyway,
I think my parents were always just really amused with my choices because, like, in kindergarten, my best friend Gloria and I decided we were going to work at Chuck E. Cheese when we were adults, and that was going to be our dream job, and we were going to, like, live together and stuff. And I remember we were so serious about it, and all the other kids in the class picked astronauts or the president, and I'm over here like, I want to work at Chuck E. Cheese. And now I'm like, oh my God, now I understand why my parents thought that was so damn funny. Because, like, I could not make a livable wage working at Chuck E. Cheese.
Right. Well, all of my, like, little dreams when I was, like, in kindergarten and stuff had to do with, like, working with my hands, like, really traditionally masculine professions, I guess. And so that's what, like, really, like, fucked me up a little bit, because anytime, like, I didn't as a kid, you don't understand that.
And they're like, don't do that. That's kind of lesbian.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. So that's just wild.
For sure. I'm dealing with that.
Like, I wanted to play in dirt professionally.
Yeah, I'm dealing with that now with, like, almost having a theater degree, and they're being like, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, I don't know. I just wanted it. Because I don't want to work in an office for the rest of my life. I mean...
Yeah, it's a tough sitch.
For sure.
I don't really know if my parents ever gave me that moment where they broke my spirits like that. My mom has always just been blindly supportive of everything that I do, to a point that, like, I don't even know if she really knows what I do want to do, but I mean, I'm sure that's probably partially on my side as well, why she doesn't, but I don't know, my dad just doesn't really care as long as I make money, so never really got all that much tutelage in that.
It's a fun blend to have, isn't it?
My dad used to joke with people that, that I wasn't really college material, you know?
Oh.
Maybe she's just gonna go get her MRS degree.
That's not terribly constructive.
I know.
That's a little
he does the same thing with my sister, just without the MRS degree part. I think you realize that was a little sexist.
My experience was the opposite. Like, I was telling my parents all the time, I am not going to be a good student. Like, I was just like, guys, you think I'm a genius, just born and bred. Like, my dad's, this freak that's got, 7 degrees or something, just because that's generally what his calling was, to be a scholar. Like, he just enjoyed the act of going to classes every day. And he's just freaking smart. And so they were just like, you're gonna be, going to Cambridge or, like, some crazy Ivy League school. And I'm like, no, guys, that's not how... Like, parenting isn't, like, a straight line, like, this is gonna be our result. It's, you're having individual humans. You're bringing individual humans into the world. And I think it's hard as parents to remember that. But that being said, they're totally supportive of everything I do, like, in the moment. These are just, like, funny things I look back on.
No, yeah, for sure. It's
like,
the same here. Like, I hold no resentment at this point. I understand that, like, nobody's perfect, and as somebody that now doesn't really want children, I certainly couldn't raise a kid any better than they raised me, so...
You're right.
Let alone maybe as well as they did.
Exactly. Like, as an adult, you see the struggle of parenting, and you can appreciate it more, and that's beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. Like, some people, some young adults will be like, my parents were great for all of these reasons, therefore I want to have, like, 1 million kids, and that's great. You know, like, I think my parents are great too, but I also saw the horrible, like, crippling responsibility they felt to produce good humans, and that sounds like a bad time.
I'm like, I don't
like-
want to have a kid and then deal with a little mini me, because, like, I'm sure the fucking worst to deal with.
I was a shit.
So,
and if I wasn't a shit, my brother sure was a shit. So, like, I don't want to deal with that.
Oh.
I mean, maybe one day, like, it'll happen, and I'm just like, all right, here we are, but, you know, not planning.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's a
are
really
we talking
good
about?
question. Addison,
Yes.
you've told me what you were wanting to talk about today, but I'm not sure if you've brought it to Aubrey's attention yet. Do you,
Oh
you
boy.
wanna...
Put me on the spot here. Mason.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly the idea. Please, squirm,
Oh,
tell me, hot seat, what's going on? What's in your head right now?
Well, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a transcendent masterpiece that has everybody on the internet actually shitting themselves, their little childhood selves. It's just so good. Like, I watched the entire thing through as soon as it got on Netflix. It's so amazing. And to be honest, I did skip. I acknowledge the fact that, like, when Avatar was out and super popular, like it's popular now on Netflix because of the generations of, like, you know, like, I was
These
12 when it
Zoomers
was
didn't
airing.
know.
Right.
We've been new. I've been new.
Exactly, right. Well, like, when I first watched it and fell in love with it, I was waiting, like, every week for it to come on Cartoon Network, you know? So
Good
now
shit.
that it's on Netflix and I've seen everything, I had to skip through to, like, Sozin's Comet and, like, see, like, it's just so good.
Having watched it as a kid, it's weird because you have a predetermined image of what you remember, and, like, I didn't make an effort to, like, seek it out until they put it on Netflix, and now I've been watching it with my roommate because he hadn't seen any of it. But it's hard to get through the first stuff because they're all so childish, and they haven't learned the lessons that they learn later on, and, like, especially Aang, like, in the beginning, oh my god, he's just a little boy mess.
Yeah, he's a legit child.
There's a starting place for everybody.
Right.
No, it's nice. I like that everyone is appreciating it now, because I always felt that it was underappreciated in its time, honestly. Like, and, you know, there were a lot of people that liked it for sure, but I didn't know a lot of people that liked it, and I always felt kind of weird, like I was watching a show that wasn't necessarily meant for me, and, like, nobody else watched it, so I, you know.
Yeah. Well,
and so now I feel like there's so many more people that I know that are, you know, want to share this experience.
It makes me happy because of some dumb, like, whether or not the Avatar is anime dumb bullshit argument that happens, like, way back when it first came out. And honestly, it got kind of shit on in its time.
Yes!
And only is just now really getting the praise that I feel like it
and then we had
ultimately
that
deserved.
terrible M. Night Shyamalan disaster piece.
Which he, I believe, stepped in as the director on so that his daughter would like his movie. I think the only reason was just because his daughter liked it.
You're talking about the live action Avatar film?
Oh, yeah,
Oh my god, that was such a disgrace to everything.
The fact that it took
so bad.
6 earthbenders to move a medium-sized rock,
No.
Right, and it's like, Toph is somewhere cackling and doing it with one finger.
Right. Well, and I remember the build-up. They did an entire, like, little documentary spread on Cartoon Network just about the boy that was playing Avatar in the film and the training he had been through and, like, all of the personal strife that it took to take on this role.
I bet.
And so they just built it up. They built this little boy up, and then they let him fail.
Yeah, and then they kicked him off the cliff and said, all right, you're the scapegoat, bud.
Right. And of course they didn't intend for that to happen. I mean, the film industry is, you know, just brutal.
It's,
like,
and
if
you
make
can't
something
always
bad,
predict
you can't
it.
help it. Yeah. I mean, and it did get the views. I do remember, like, I mean, we'd have to look that up, but the blockbuster, you know, like, revenue on it was probably, just because the TV show was so popular, you know, there was a whole generation of people that was like, okay, I'll watch it at least once.
Yeah.
But
And it was
God,
M. Night
just
Shyamalan,
not
so having
good,
that
man.
He
helped.
was still
Yeah.
not quite as... There were still a lot of people that really liked him at the time, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm actually going to look that up.
And I mean, the poor kid, I can't remember his name, but he did the best job he could, but he clearly was not an actor. I remember during the little documentary thing I was talking about, they went into his martial arts background specifically, and that's what he got the part for because of, you know, the heavy choreography in the film. And he obviously nailed that, but, you know, the emotion behind the performance was just not there. Just kind of a bummer.
Okay, so it looks like it made $319 million US dollars from the box office. I'm not sure if that covered the cost of it, but you know, it could be a lot worse. It made more than Will Smith's "I'm Making a Movie with My Son" movie After Earth.
Oh boy!
So there is that.
A for effort.
A for effort. I agree.
You got it. Yeah.
Is there going to be The Last Airbender 2? Yes, and it's Korra, but it's not what you think.
Oh boy, yeah.
The Last Airbender has one of the lowest Rotten Tomatoes critic scores I've ever seen.
Oh no.
They gave it a 5%. Audience gave it 30%, but the critics say 5%, and that makes me wonder how it's done in comparison to Troll 2, which is a terrible movie, just a baseline that we could use.
It's the standard.
Troll 2 is 1%, has a 1% higher score than The Last Airbender.
You know what?
And the audience score for Troll 2 is 14% higher.
Oh no.
With a 6 and a 44% respectively.
Buddy.
I'm honestly kind of surprised to see the audience score that low. I know a lot of people that really, really love this movie.
No, I think a 44% is pretty good because you know, when you score it on Rotten Tomatoes, you do have to recognize that Troll 2, none of the scenes make any sense, and the acting is bad. Like, really bad.
I can't believe they actually got 18 different critics to comment on it, though.
So, I mean...
We need to talk about Cats now. This is the natural transition to
Cats?
make. If we're talking
Okay.
about horrible films and just, like...
Are we talking about the new live-action Cats?
The new
or just
live-action Cats, yes.
All right, do you want me to pull it up?
So I
Yes.
did not go see it because I will never go see Cats. Yes, I'm a theater major, but I will make it blatantly clear to everyone that I would
Yeah.
never accept a role in Cats. I will never see Cats, and it's not a good show because it has no real plot that
You're
makes
right.
sense or exists for any sort of purpose.
Well, I mean, it is important. And by the way, I want to say I'm a theater major as well. It's probably relevant at this point.
Oh, we all were.
But yes, all of us. Cats... The script, it's a surrealist script, right? So if you're going to look at it, like, if you have that information, I like to judge it by surrealism. And for surrealism's sake, it's all right, you know? Like, it's making no sense, and that's its purpose. But I did see the Cats, the live-action film, and I was into it for the sake of just watching, like, beautiful dancers and beautiful singers do their job well.
Oh, I'm
But, like,
sure.
the plot and, like, as a film, it's like a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, the
But, like,
frustrating thing for me was the way they graphically design. Like, it was, I've already read plenty of articles for what it was, how terrible it was for the graphic designers, with them having to put buttholes on them and then also remove the buttholes later because people didn't like it, which they should have assholes.
They're making
cats.
bold choices.
If you're gonna give it titties, you should probably give it a butt.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and I was also just frustrated because I feel that they got all these really famous people that they're better than this.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought I'd say it, but James Corden, you're better than this.
Dude, honestly, I could not tell you how many films that James Corden is just playing like the super generic comic relief character now. I feel like
Right.
that's just what he does now.
And like Jason Derulo,
Yeah.
and Idris Elba, like they were the two that I was extremely disappointed in. Well, and in addition, Ian McKellen, because you have been knighted.
Hey, to be fair, half of them were only like on set for like a day because they didn't want to be there any longer. I mean, they were only like half of them were only in the movie for like 5 minutes tops.
I mean, the structure of the plot is almost like episodic in that way. Like they kind of, I don't actually know if that's how the play is, but like
in a way, yeah.
kind of, sort of. Okay, well, in the film, it's definitely like, you know, this actor's having this moment, and then we move on to this guy, and, you know, and I don't know. Sometimes it works to put just, you know, famous people in a film and see what happens. This time, it kind of, like, hurt their chances of making something that was worth watching, you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of discrediting the product to begin with, because they felt like they had to put famous people in just to make it sell.
Right, and I feel like it's better whenever they do these movies that have tons of famous people in it, I feel like it works so much better in a comedy format.
Yeah.
Because they're making fun of themselves and the things that they've done, whereas, like, this feels like it's pandery.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
100, like,
That's
you
a good
know,
word.
it is made to put on a billboard to put people in seats. Yeah. You know, speaking of which, like, speaking of movies where they sort of work off of having a large selection of, like, famous casts in a more comedic tone, that got brought up last night that your mom texted you about just randomly?
Oh, my mom texted me last night just the word movie 43. Like the title of the movie 43. And I said, what? And then I said, you mean Hugh Jackman's ballsack neck? And she, like, starts going on and on about her and my dad watching it last night, and they found it hilarious. Like, you know, they admitted, like, it was immature humor for sure, but just the fact that they got all these famous people to do all this ridiculous stuff, like, what's her name? No, Halle Berry. Halle Berry. They get Halle Berry to just, like, get plastic surgery to have these huge knockers and huge lips, and it's fucking hilarious. Just so many funny little premises, and that's a good way to, I mean, granted, the movie was a flop, but, like, it wasn't as bad of a flop as Cats, I'll tell you that.
Well, you know, I just feel like at the time, it was kind of a product that, it wasn't something that, like, any of us really, like, understood. I feel like, thinking back to that whenever my family was thinking about renting it, in fact, I believe we did rent it from the local Hastings, and we watched it, and
Hastings.
the opinions that we had about it, it was just, I just remember everyone being so confused about there not really actually being a plot, and it just kind of feeling like a bunch of actors getting together because they're famous, so they can make a movie and make money because they're famous. But honestly, like, looking back at it now, it's been a while since I've looked at scenes from that movie, but from what I remember, it was kind of just a bunch of different actors in Hollywood doing a bunch of dumbass, silly skits for fun. Like, and honestly, like, all of them, from my memory, looked like they were having a really great time, like, while recording that. Like, it looked like it was a lot of fun to do. I feel like it was kind of more of like an actual satire. No one really,
Like
including
the world wasn't ready for it. Is basically
ahead
what
of
you're
its
saying.
time.
Yes.
Hugh Jackman with a ball sack on
I
his-
mean, but it's just so it's even better that Kate Winslet is there, like, does no one else notice the ball sack neck?
Yeah.
Like, and it's
Actually,
Kate
I haven't seen this. I need to
Winslet.
see this immediately.
We'll watch it. It's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
It's such a good laugh. And there's my favorite scene takes place in a grocery store at, like, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., like, it's like the night shift. And it's Macaulay Culkin's brother, whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head, but he plays Wallace, the gay roommate in Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, God.
And he's reading just some announcements over the PA system, and then up comes Emma Stone, and she, like, you know, is being really seductive, very like how she was in Easy A.
Yes, I remember.
And he's just like, I can't remember, but it's something along the line of, like, how's your herpes? And it's like, well, how's your crabs? They're just, like, digging at each other really hard, but it's also got this weird, really sexual tension. And he forgot that he left the mic on, so the entire grocery store is hearing it, but it's like 2 a.m., so it's like weird old people and just strange, you know, the weirdos that are out at 2 a.m. at Walmart, like myself.
Me included.
Yeah, and then at the end, after they've said lots of sexually explicit things about what they want to do to each other, she leaves, and everybody that was in the grocery store is like, you gotta go get her. You go get that pussy, bro. Like, we're gonna cover your shift for you. We'll each take an hour of it, you know? And that's one of my favorite ones, just because it is so weird, and it's so weird that they're all into it, and they're like, oh, that's true love. And I'm like, you sure about that? Because that sounds like pure lust.
Like, I'm gonna help my neighbor right now. He needs to get laid.
Today's episode, I guess, pigeons, your parents.
Ball pits? No, the weird, gross, soggy ball pit in Silver Dollar City.
Yeah, specifically that one. And, you know,
James Corden's butthole?
Yeah.
cats.
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 That's what I said.
Better than people. Cats. TM. In the moonlight.
I don't know the rest of the about
I
it.
did have a pigeon or bird of some kind hit my windshield once, and it literally bounced off. That bitch was so acrobatic. He was just like, I shouldn't be here. I'm sorry, bye. It was like,
Well, I'm glad he's okay.
yeah, I think he's fine.